Today is the day. Man, I looked out there and I thought today was the day I'd show up and there wouldn't be anyone here because, man, it is ugly. So, wow, you guys are faithful. Thank you for being here. We're thrilled that you're here. Hopefully you've had a chance to grab a cup of coffee and maybe engage in some little chit-chat. Now, I love to chit-chat, and I don't think I'm the only one that loves to chit-chat. Everybody knows me as a talker. And you know what the truth of the matter is, though? I really just love to chit-chat because that's the only way I can stay, and I think you guys are the same. It's the way we can stay connected so that we can have that chance when the time and the place are right where we can engage in a conversation that really matters, right? Chit-chat paves the way to talk about the things that really matter. And that's why I'm so excited about this series that Greg kicked off last week and that we're going to be doing for the next few weeks. It's called Because It Matters. And this is our chance to absolutely dip down under the surface and start talking about the things that really matter in our lives and those things that really can give us hope. Before we really start today, I want to talk about one other chance that we're going to have here to really dip down under the surface of things. And maybe this is your first day here. Maybe you've been coming for a long time. It doesn't matter. We are hoping for like 120% engagement in this. We are starting we're calling it Building the Well. And it's a chance to really get behind the scenes and really start to understand, what drives this engine that we are Jacob's Well. It's kind of the chance to move from going to church to being a church and to get behind the scenes and start really understanding the meaning and the ways we work, not just on Sunday mornings, not just in group life, but how we vision ourselves moving forward in the future. So, we are starting, the first one that we're doing is this very next Saturday, and it's at 9 o'clock on a Saturday. It's at Diamond Lake Lutheran Church, and I would love to know if you're coming, and you can let me know and let us know by writing the word catch the vision. Write the word catch on your communication card so we start to get some idea of who we might have coming. So, today, we are in this series on Because It Matters. Last week, Greg started out by talking about how it's because it's how the universe works. And he talked about this amazing pattern that God has woven into the universe. And this pattern that might not be like glaringly obvious, but once you see it and once you start living in sync with it, it just totally makes sense. That was last week. This week, we are going to cover a topic that's been explored since, I'm pretty sure, before time began. Folks like, Socrates and Aristotle and Plato. And then more recently, and maybe the more prestigious crowd, folks like Homer Simpson and Monty Python, We are going to be talking today about the meaning of life, What really gives our lives meaning? And as a sidebar, if anybody can help me understand anything funny about Monty Python, please come down afterwards and tell me. I swear it's a love-hate thing. You either love it or you hate it. I don't think it's funny. Oh, see? So come on down afterwards and convince me, please. All right, so we're talking about the meaning of life. And the way we're going to do that, we're working with the book of Ephesians to talk about these different things that matter. And so Greg looked at the first chapter of Ephesians last week. This week we are going to move into the first part of the second chapter of Ephesians. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know if any of you had a chance to read it ahead of time. If you saw on our website, you can kind of do some of this reading. Oh, Greg did. Good job, Greg. You can read ahead of time, but if you did, you're going to hear some really interesting language. It's church language, or as Nate calls it, it's churchese all the way. It's stuff like being dead in your sin and transgressions and alive in Christ. Now, I want to be the first to say that when I start reading language like that, my eyes glaze over and my mind starts wandering to greener pastures. So part of what we want to do today, or part of my goal for today, is this language that floats about 30,000 feet above the earth. I'd like to try to pull it down to the earth where we can actually wrestle with it and engage with it and start to try to connect it with why it matters for how my life is going to have meaning. And so that's where we're going today. Now, I think very logically, and so I always have to start at the beginning. And the beginning of any conversation about how my life has meaning has to start with meaning itself. I mean, seriously, what is meaning? Now, of course, we always learn from the youngest among us. So if you have a baby, right, and they're doing this, you know, they're doing what they do. They're pointing at something, and they're doing this. And so you grab whatever they're pointing at, and you hand it to them. What's the first thing you do? You say, pen. Pen, Johnny, it's a pen, right? Even, I mean, we start doing this, we start naming and identifying the things in their world without even realizing we're doing it. It's just intrinsic to who we are. We do it when they're still like cross-eyed and can hardly see past their hand. Pen, Johnny, pen, right? We're trying to attach meaning and identity to their worlds. That's just absolutely what we do from the very get-go. Now, this is nothing new, I realize. God actually put this pattern in motion from the very beginning. So check out Genesis 2:19, all right? Now the Lord God had formed out of the ground all the beasts of the field and all the birds of the air. He brought them to the man, substitute woman if you want, to see what he would name them. And whatever the man called each living creature, that was its name. I mean, just picture that. Think of the power of naming, you know. Whatever, you know, God held this lump of fur in front of him and said, whatever you call it, that's going to be its name. I mean, this is powerful stuff. Think of the places everything might have been different, seriously. These creatures, you know, that we call dog, could just as easily have been its counterpart. You know, these creatures on four legs who never did learn to read social cues, and so those creatures who incessantly rub up against your leg when they know you don't like them, and even while they ignore the people who actually feed them and give them a home, right? I know you guys know what I'm talking about. Or these creatures that we call cat. It could just as easily have been the four-legged creatures that insist on believing that they're people, and so during the winter they wear sweaters and they even have their own house, right? Everything could have been different. It could have been a cockapoo running in the Kentucky Derby. I mean, that's the power of naming, you know? Have you ever had the experience with a kid, like, you find out, oh, they named their baby so-and-so, you know, whatever, Richard or whatever, and you think, that name just doesn't seem right for him. Well, what does it take? Like 5 days before you can't imagine them by any other name, right? That's their name, and so they grow into it. It's really powerful to think about naming. And this is so simple, but it's true. And this is a fill-in. It's the first one. By the way, quick pause button. Some of you are going to have a Sunday paper that is blank on the back, no outline. Not sure what happened, but there are papers out there with an outline on the back, so if that's important to you, feel free to go grab one, all right? Okay, so the first fill-in, meaning, is really just the way we connect with our world. That's it. We've been doing it from the very beginning. We are so wired for meaning that we really can't imagine life without it. We just totally take it for granted, but it's a gift from God. So I want to take a minute today just to try to help us realize what it might be to have a life without meaning. And I want to play a clip for you. It's a clip I saw in a psychology class when we were studying the function of brain and memory. But it was so moving to me. It's the story of a guy he lives in England, so you're going to have to get past the poor YouTube quality and the British accent. But it's this guy who lives in England, and in his younger days, he was an accomplished concert pianist, and you'll see that here. And then he had some rare brain infection that literally destroyed the part of the brain, the hippocampus, that's responsible for short-term memory. And so he has what's called like somatic or body memory. So you'll see, he can still play the keys, and he still knows that he loves his wife. I don't think he can recognize that she is his wife, and every time he sees her, it's like it's brand new, and you'll see that. But he knows that he loves her. It's this body memory. But every piece of short-term memory is completely gone. And so day by day, he keeps a journal. And you read through the journal entry, and it'll say, like, 3:55, I'm sitting at the table looking out the window. You know, 4 p.m., I am eating a chicken sandwich, and so on. And that journal is really the only thing that he can use to somehow connect him to this world in any meaningful way. He uses it almost as his proof that he is actually living and breathing from day to day. So watch this video and just be moved by the gift of meaning that we really take for granted.
One man is consigned to live entirely within the present, with terrible consequences. Clive Waring has the worst case of amnesia ever known. 20 years ago, he lost his memory, and now his wife, Deborah, is the only person he recognizes.
Clive really only has less than 30 seconds memory, and sometimes it's as little as perhaps 7 seconds. It's as little as a sentence.
I'm going to see your sister, Adele. Her daughter's got married recently in New Zealand. And so they're having a party.
Funny how the ladies acquire different title when they get married.
Do you know who I'm going to see tomorrow?
Buckingham Palace.
No, really guess.
I don't know.
You don't know? Adele.
Oh, I see.
Do you know why I'm going?
No.
She's having a party at her house tomorrow.
It's her birthday, isn't it?
No.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
No.
It's to do with her daughter.
I see.
Do you know why her daughter's having a party?
No.
Guess.
No, I don't.
She's just got married.
Oh, I see.
She just got married in... Do you know what country she just got married in?
No, I don't.
In New Zealand.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
The sentence he is in, he will probably have forgotten the sentence before. You ask him a question and he'll give you an answer, but while he's giving you the answer, he's already forgotten the question. That's how short it is.
I'm going to see your kids tomorrow.
You want to see my kids?
Yeah, your children.
What are they up to now?
Do you know what they're up to now?
No.
Guess what you think they're up to.
No idea, I couldn't guess. I don't know what their O-levels were. They hadn't got an O-level last time I was conscious. So I didn't know what possible thing they could do, did I?
No.
No, I couldn't possibly guess.
Where do you think they are?
No idea. I don't know where I am.
Yep.
All he has is void behind him.
Well, it's been like death. I've never seen a human being before, never had a dream or a thought. The brain has been totally inactive, day and night the same. No thoughts at all. As far as I'm concerned, the doctors have been totally incompetent. I've never seen a doctor the whole time. Oh, look, it's come. Oh, wonderful.
That's a very musical kiss. I'm dizzy. I don't know which part of the room I'm standing in.
Can we dance?
I mean, on the one hand, what an incredible love story, huh? But wow, I don't know if you could catch everything he said, but he said day and night the same. It's like death. I mean, we are so wired for meaning. We spend our days consciously and subconsciously taking things from our world and attaching meaning to the things around us and to ourselves. That's what we do. You know, so we do this so much that we come to have an identity, don't we? And so I'm busy taking my experiences and what I do in the world and sticking them on me until pretty soon I have a solid identity. And so you ask me, you say, who are you? Well, I could say a lot of things, some good, some not so good, right? I could say I'm Dawn. I am a pastor wannabe. I'm a healthcare worker. I'm a divorcee. I'm a candy fiend. I could go on and on. We all have all these things that we could say about ourselves by the way we attach meaning to ourselves and come to find value for ourselves in the world. I want to take like 5 minutes, maybe a little less, and I would love for you guys to turn to each other and pull people in if you don't know people. Turn to each other and just take a few minutes and say like 4 or 5 things that you think would identify yourself, give you meaning and value in this world. So, you know, start with your name, please. Say, I am whatever, and then just say, I am a whatever, and I am a whatever, okay? Take a few minutes, get to know each other, and do that. Okay, this is a lively conversation. Man, we love to talk about ourselves. myself included. Okay, come on back, you guys. Hi, Melissa. Okay. Go ahead, Nate.
Hi, my name is Nate, and I am a husband.
I am Rachel. I am 29. I'm Natalia. I am a wife.
My name's Bjorn, and I'm a caregiver.
I'm Darren. I need a break first. I'm a father.
I'm Natasha, and I'm sarcastic.
My name's Audrey, and I'm a volunteer.
I am Jacob, and I am a taxpayer.
I'm Melissa, and I'm a mom-to-be, obviously.
My name is Justin, and I'm a musician.
Oh, wow.
I'm only one thing.
I am Nate, and I am a homeowner. Shoot.
Take an obvious one. I'm Jacob, and I am a son.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Audrey, and I'm a gardener.
I'm Bjorn, and I like to think that I'm laid back.
Wow. Is that it? All right.
You know, it's really interesting. Something happens to us over the course of our lives. Maybe it's happened to you. Maybe it's happening to you right now. If it hasn't, it will happen to you at some point. I don't know anybody really who's exempt from this. Over time in history, it's been called the dark night of the soul. And this is that experience that happens when the way you've understood yourself in the world, the primary way that you found meaning and value for yourself in the world, suddenly disappears. This dark night of the soul goes by many names. For me, it went under the name of divorce. It was that experience of having grounded everything I knew of myself and every connection I felt like I had in the world in what I conceived of as my family. And suddenly it was gone. Goes under different names. For some of you, it will be job loss, you know, whether by layoff or by retirement. When everything you've known of your life, every bit of meaning you've had is suddenly gone. For some of you, it might go under the name of physical or mental illness. When you've always identified yourself in the world as an active and healthy person, and suddenly you find that your body is rebelling against you and robbing you of that kind of identity and meaning in the world. For some of you, it might be called empty nest. When you've centered your lives on your kids and done everything you could for your kids, and you turn around and one day, they're not there anymore. They're off leading their own lives. It might be, some of you, it might be called the loss of a home. When everything you've known of the world, your center and your hub for your life has been your house, and it's gone. Whatever its name, it's the experience of finding that God has been displaced and is running down the leg of a stool, right? While all the bricks that you've understood to have given your life meaning are scattered here, there, and everywhere. And all you have left is to look into the emptiness, right? The vast emptiness of your soul. Paul calls this being dead in your sin. And think of it as being dead in your separation from God. It's this horrible realization that we construct this identity, and that's a fill-in. We construct this identity for ourselves, don't we? And we think we matter in the world because of who we are. And suddenly we come to this realization that who we are is not there anymore. There's an interesting phenomenon in history, and you guys are aware of it, I know. When times get really tough, like maybe during the Great Depression or maybe right after 9/11, when times are tough, you know what happens? Churches overflow. Now, this has led some people to say that religion is nothing but a psychological crutch for the weak-minded, right? But the other way to understand this is that we just do not see or seek after God until every brick has been taken from us, right? And we're staring into this blank nothingness. We just don't seek after him until everything that we thought we knew about ourselves has been taken from us. It's just the way it goes. That's how we're wired. And finally, we come to this realization that we matter not because of who we are, but because of who God is. We matter because of who God is. And in the heart of this is that this God who is and always will be and is never leaving, this is the same God that created and loved us. Now seriously, that sounds so trite. That sounds so Sunday school, right? To talk about this God who created us and loved us. But you know what? If you're in the dark night of your soul, there is nothing sweeter. There are no sweeter words that you're going to ever hear. I want to clarify something too. It isn't that these other identities that we have don't matter, right? I can tell you that it matters a lot to your kids that you're a dad. I can tell you that it matters a lot to your employer or your coworkers that you show up every day and you give it your all in that identity. You know, it isn't that they don't matter. It's just coming to that painful realization that every single meaning that you have in your life flows first and only from God. It flows first and only from God. You matter because God matters, and that's exactly what Paul means in this letter to the Ephesians when he writes this in verse 2:8. He says, "For it's by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourself, it's a gift of God." The other verse that I love, and it's so true, it's out of Psalm 62. It says, "My soul finds rest in God alone." You know, our identities in this world, they're going to shift, and they're going to switch, and some are going to be painful, and some are going to be good. They're going to be all over the map. But finally, you know where we're going to find rest? It's going to be in God. It's going to be in recognizing that God is at the heart of everything we do. I want to close today by pushing us even just one step farther than this, okay? And I want to do that by talking about somebody that a couple of you might be familiar with, Mother Teresa. Now, I don't know about you guys. When I think of this phrase being the hands and feet of Christ in the world, that's her face that I see. I mean, if you think about it, her entire identity is centered in that one thing. She completely sees her value, or saw her value and her meaning as being God's servant in the world to the poorest of the poor. God totally gave her a vision. She was teaching for about 10 years in India within her convent, and she would, every day she would look out around her into the slums of Calcutta, and she was just horrified by the things that she saw, you know, young and old alike dying in the streets with absolutely no dignity. And so one time, I forget, she was traveling from point A to point B, and God talked to her. You know, she says, "Jesus gave himself to me." That's the way she says it, and gave her this vision for what she wanted to do, for what she was called to do. And that was, of course, to live in the slums of Calcutta. I mean, it blows me away. You know, most of us do bump and jump service, myself included. You know, I dip in, I do some good, I feel sort of good, then I move on with my life, and then I dip in again, you know. Or a lot of us, if we serve, you know, we might be in the slums by day, but then we go home to a hotel room at night. I mean, Mother Teresa absolutely lived in the slums of India, not for a year or two, for 40-some years. I mean, it blows me away, the things that we can learn from this one woman. But you know what? That is not anywhere near the greatest thing she taught us. It's not anywhere near the greatest thing she taught us. Maybe some of you remember a couple of years ago when this story broke open, when it became public knowledge to the entire world that the truth of the matter is, almost from the very moment she started that ministry in the slums of Calcutta, she never heard another word from God. She never experienced that feeling of knowing God's presence. It was like God stopped talking to her. Now, why did she stay? Why did she stay? You know what? Her staying points to something that's so incredible. It points to the biggest truth that we will ever have about God, and it's that this God of ours is there always, and that he is so far beyond our ability to experience him, to attach meaning to him, to understand him. He's just way, way, way beyond that. And that's the greatest thing we can learn. And you know what that means for us? It means because God is still God, you still matter. It means that even when you don't feel like you matter, you still matter. Even when you're sure you don't matter, you still matter. And you matter because God matters. I want to close with this verse out of Acts. And I really heard it differently the more I started thinking about this. And so I'm going to just read it. From one man, he made every nation, that they should inhabit the whole earth. And he determined the time set for them and the exact places where they should live. God did this so that we would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him. Now listen to that word, perhaps, you know. He said God's not an abstract God. He set us down in a certain time and a place thinking that perhaps this might happen or whatever, and we might reach out and we might try to experience him, we might try to know him. But then it goes on, you know. It goes on, and it says this: though he is not far from each one of us, for in him we live and move and have our being. Regardless of our ability to feel him or to know him or to even think that we can find identity in him, we are reaching out for him, but his reach is so much more than ours. And that's the kind of God we worship, and that's why we matter, because God matters. Let's just pray. God, man, we are blown away by you continually, and some of us here are in that feeling of being dead in our sin. Some of us are living it daily. Some of us are knowing what it feels to have our identities and how we thought we were in the world taken from us. God, be with us just powerfully today, and help us know beyond a feeling and beyond any type of experience, help us know that you are God and that we matter because of you. We thank you for the many people that are gathered here today, and for our hearts that know, we know that you are God, and that in the beginning and the end you will be there. In your name we pray. Amen. That was awesome. All right, I want to respect your time and release you to the rain rapidly here, but two things. If you are a first-time visitor, that table over there is for you. We have an awesome t-shirt that we are going to give you, all right? If you are a regular, you can surely buy one. They're reasonably priced, and they're awesome, and they're cute. Nice, aren't I? Okay, secondly, the great thing about bricks is that they're everywhere. And so this week I invite you, as you move around your day, notice bricks and think about them differently. Think about how the various identities that you have attached to yourself in this world. And then imagine if brick by brick those were taken down. And just imagine that there is this God that will still be there and that is sustaining and upholding and holding together every single area of your life. and you matter. You matter to God.